I took my daughter-in-law's phone to get it fixed. The technician, a family friend, pulled me aside and whispered, "Cancel your cards, change your passwords, and leave now." Confused, I asked, "What happened?" He turned the screen toward me. "But let me back up 3 weeks. You need to understand how it started before you can appreciate how it ended. My son's wedding reception was held at the Grand Hotel, Ballroom C, the kind of place where the chandeliers cost more than my annual salary and the waiters wore white gloves. I stood near the bar, nursing a Budweiser that tasted flat and warm, watching David and his new bride Jessica dance like they were filming a commercial for expensive champagne. The band played some modern song I didn't recognize. 200 guests smiled and clapped and pretended they were having the time of their lives. I'm Frank Miller, 56 years old. I've worked as a building supervisor for the past 23 years, after spending my 20s and early 30s as a mechanic. My hands know their way around locks, security systems, electrical panels, and the guts of machines. I can fix most things. I raised 2 kids alone after my wife Sarah died of cancer when David was 12 and Emily was 10. I worked 2 jobs for years, scraped by, did what needed doing, never complained much. David, my son, he's 32 now, works in marketing for some firm downtown, always wore expensive suits, drove a leased BMW, lived in a condo I helped him get the down payment for back when I still had savings. He was handsome like his mother, tall, good smile, the kind of guy who networked at parties and used words like synergy without irony. His new wife Jessica was 28, blonde, pretty in that manufactured Instagram way. She had 12,000 followers and called herself a lifestyle influencer, which, as far as I could tell, meant she took pictures of herself holding coffee cups and got free makeup in exchange. She smiled constantly, but her eyes never matched the expression on her face. Cold eyes. Calculating. My daughter Emily was 30, Harvard Law, or so she told everyone. Actually Boston University, but she'd learned early that perception mattered more than truth. She worked at a mid-sized firm, married to Kyle, a tech consultant who wore black t-shirts and talked about disruption and innovation. They lived in a nice townhouse in the suburbs, had no kids, and seemed to spend most of their time attending charity events and posting about them on social media. I loved my kids, past tense intentional. The reception dragged on, speeches about true love and soulmates and forever, toasts with champagne that cost $30 a glass. I checked my watch. 10 p.m. Another hour of this performance, then I could go home to my apartment, the 2-bedroom place on Oak Street where I'd lived for 31 years, where I'd raised my children, where every corner held memories of Sarah and better times. Frank, Jessica materialized beside me, still in her wedding dress, a massive white thing with layers and beading, and a train that required 2 bridesmaids to manage. Her smile was wide and sharp. "We need to talk." "Sure thing," I said, setting down my beer. "Beautiful ceremony. You look lovely." "Thank you." She glanced around, making sure people were watching. They were. "I need your apartment keys." I blinked. "What?" "Your keys. To the apartment on Oak Street. David and I will be moving in next week. We need the keys tonight so we can start planning renovations." My apartment, the home I'd lived in since 1994. The place where Sarah had died in our bedroom, where David had taken his first steps, where Emily had studied for her law school entrance exams at the kitchen table. "Jessica, that's my home." "Was your home?" She held out her hand, palm up, manicured nails painted white to match her dress. "David's name is on the lease now. We had the paperwork done last month through Emily. She's a lawyer, she handled everything. You're being moved to the Sunrise Assisted Living Facility on Grant Street. It's very nice. They have activities and nurses and people your age." The music kept playing, but I felt like I'd been hit in the chest. "I'm 56 years old, not 96. I don't need assisted living." "Frank." Her voice carried now, loud enough that guests near us stopped talking. "Don't make a scene. This is my wedding day. Just give me the keys and we can discuss the details later." "Where's David?" I looked around the ballroom, spotted my son by the cake table, laughing with his groomsmen. "David." He saw me. His expression changed, went from happy to uncomfortable in half a second. He walked over slowly, like a kid being called to the principal's office. "Dad," he said quietly, "what's wrong? What's wrong? Your wife just told me you're taking my apartment, that I'm being put in assisted living, that Emily forged paperwork with my name on it." David wouldn't look at me. He studied his shoes, expensive Italian leather things that probably cost $400. "Dad, it's not like that. We're not forcing you. It's just, the apartment is in a good neighborhood now. Property values went up. You're sitting on equity you're not using. And the facility is really nice. You'd have friends, activities, care if you need it." "I don't need care. I need my home." Jessica stepped closer. Her perfume was overwhelming, some floral scent that made my eyes water. "Frank, you're being selfish. David and I need space to start our lives together. That apartment is wasted on one person. It has 2 bedrooms. We can start a family there. Then start a family somewhere else. Buy your own place." "We can't afford it," David muttered. "So you're stealing mine?" "We're not stealing," Jessica snapped. "It's legal. Emily made sure of it. The lease transfer is valid. You're a co-signer, not the primary tenant anymore. David is. We can legally ask you to leave." I felt something cold settle in my stomach, a feeling I hadn't had since Sarah died, the feeling of being completely alone. "You're serious?" "Completely," Jessica said. I looked at my son. "David, tell me this isn't happening. Tell me you didn't plan to kick your father out of his home." He opened his mouth, closed it, shrugged. "I raised you," I said, voice low. "After your mother died, I raised you alone. Worked 16-hour days so you could have new shoes and school supplies and birthday parties. I went without so you could have." "I know, Dad, and I appreciate it, but nothing. I'm your father." "And this is business," Emily said, appearing from nowhere. My daughter, in a blue dress that probably cost a month of my salary, holding a glass of champagne. "Dad, don't be dramatic. The facility is nice. We've already paid for 3 months. You'll love it." "You paid for it without asking me." "We didn't want to bother you with details." The 3 of them stood there, united front, looking at me like I was the problem. Like I was the unreasonable one for not wanting to be forced from my home. "No," I said simply. Jessica's face went hard. "Frank, give me the keys." "No. I'm asking nicely. And I'm saying no. You want my apartment, you'll have to drag me out." "Fine." She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. The crack echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. 200 people gasped. The band stopped playing. My cheek burned, hot and bright with pain and humiliation. I touched my face, felt the heat, looked at my son. "David?" He stood there, frozen, saying nothing, doing nothing. "You're going to let her do this? At your own wedding?" He looked away. Emily sipped her champagne. Kyle, her husband, stood behind her with his arms crossed, smirking slightly. The room was silent. Everyone staring, waiting to see what the old man would do. I pulled out my phone, dialed a number I had on speed dial. 1 ring, 2. "Frank?" Tom's voice, warm and familiar. "What's up?" "Tom, remember that favor you owe me? From when I pulled Jennifer from that car wreck on Highway 9. "I remember. What do you need?" "I need you at the Grand Hotel, Ballroom C, right now." "On my way." I hung up, slipped my phone back in my pocket, looked at Jessica. "You made a mistake." "The only mistake here is you," she said. "We'll see." I walked back to the bar, ordered another beer, waited. 10 minutes passed like hours. The reception tried to restart. Band played again. People pretended everything was normal, but conversation stayed quiet. Eyes kept flicking toward me. Then the ballroom doors opened. Tom Reeves walked in. 72 years old, but moved like he was 50. Former fire chief, decorated hero, the man who'd run into a burning elementary school 12 years ago and carried out 6 kids through smoke and flames. 3rd-degree burns on his arms, Medal of Valor. His picture had been on the front page of every newspaper in the state. Everyone knew his face. Everyone respected his name. He wore khakis and a button-down shirt, his silver hair combed back, his weathered face serious. The room went silent again, but this time it was different. This was respect. Awe. Tom crossed the ballroom floor, footsteps echoing. He walked straight to me, extended his hand. "Frank," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was hell." I shook his hand. His grip was still strong. He turned, surveyed the room, looked at David, at Jessica, at Emily and Kyle. Then he addressed the crowd. "I don't usually crash weddings," Tom said, his voice carrying authority that came from decades of command. "But Frank here is an old friend, more than a friend, family." He paused, let that sink in. 20 years ago, my daughter Jennifer was in a car accident on Highway 9. Single car crash. She flipped her vehicle. Frank was driving home from work, saw it happen. He didn't call 911 and drive away. He stopped, pulled her from the wreckage, stayed with her, kept pressure on her wounds, kept her conscious until the ambulance arrived. Doctors said another 5 minutes and she would have bled out. Frank saved her life. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jessica's face had gone pale. Frank never asked for anything, never wanted recognition or reward, didn't even tell anyone. I only found out because Jennifer tracked him down years later to say thank you. That's the kind of man he is, the kind who does what's right because it's right. Tom looked at David. "You're his son?" David nodded weakly. "Then you should know what kind of father you have, the kind who sacrifices everything for his kids. The kind who works himself to the bone so his children can have better lives. The kind who never asks for anything in return." He looked at Jessica. "And you're the new wife?" She didn't answer. "Frank is my brother," Tom said simply. "By choice. And if anyone in this room thinks they can disrespect him, push him around, take advantage of him, they'll have to go through me first." He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who'd run into burning buildings and come out alive. "Understood." No one spoke. Tom clapped my shoulder. "You need anything else?" "No, this was enough. Call me anytime. I mean it." He left. The silence lasted another 5 seconds. Then the room exploded in whispers. Jessica grabbed David's arm, pulled him toward the exit. Emily and Kyle followed. Within 10 minutes, half the guests had left. The wedding reception collapsed like a house of cards. I finished my beer, walked out of the Grand Hotel into the cool night air, got in my truck, a 15-year-old Ford that ran fine despite its age, drove home to my apartment on Oak Street, sat in my living room in the dark, thinking about my children and how I'd raised them to be better than this, wondering where I'd gone wrong, not knowing yet that this was only the beginning. While you're here, hit the hype button, don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like, and tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? 7 days before the wedding, Jessica's phone screen had cracked. She'd dropped it on the marble floor of David's condo, spiderweb fractures spreading across the glass like frozen lightning. "Can you take this to that repair guy you know?" she'd asked me. We were at Sunday dinner, the last one I'd be invited to, though I didn't know it then. The one who does it cheap. His name was Ray Martinez. We'd served in the National Guard together back in the early 90s, deployed to the Gulf, came back with stories we didn't tell, and memories we tried to forget. He'd opened an electronics repair shop on 5th Street 15 years ago. Good guy. Honest. The kind of friend who'd help you move a body if you called him at 3 a.m., no questions asked. "Sure," I'd said. "I'll drop it off tomorrow." Monday morning, I'd driven to Ray's shop. Bells chimed when I pushed open the door, the smell of solder and coffee. Ray was behind the counter, glasses perched on his bald head, working on a laptop with the focused intensity of a surgeon. "Frank," he said, looking up, "what's broken?" "Future daughter-in-law's phone. David's getting married this weekend." "Congrats." He took the phone, examined it. "Screen replacement. Easy. Give me an hour." I waited in the shop, drinking coffee from a pot that had probably been brewing since dawn, reading a newspaper someone had left on the counter. Ray worked in silence, the kind of comfortable quiet you only get with old friends. 45 minutes later, he called me over. His voice was different, quiet, serious. "Frank, come here." I walked behind the counter. He held up the phone, screen fixed but unlocked, displaying a messaging app. "I had to access the phone to test the screen after replacement," he said carefully. "Standard procedure. Make sure touch response works." And I saw this. He showed me a group chat. 4 members: David, Emily, Kyle, someone named Jessa, which I assumed was Jessica. The chat was called Operation Upgrade. I read the first message. "David, sent 3 weeks ago. Dad won't leave voluntarily. We need a legal angle to force him out without making it obvious." My chest tightened. Emily's response: "I can draft documentation, power of attorney transfer, lease amendments, competency evaluations. If we build a case that he's declining mentally, we can get guardianship through the courts." Kyle: "I can handle the financial side. Lock him out of his accounts, make it look like he's forgetting passwords and losing track of his money. Classic signs of dementia." Jessica: "Perfect. The apartment is in a prime location now. My real estate friend says we could flip it for at least $400,000 or rent it for $3,000 a month. We'd be stupid not to take advantage." I felt like I'd been punched. Ray watched my face, sympathy in his eyes. "There's more," he said quietly. I scrolled. Weeks of messages, detailed plans. Emily had drafted fake documents, complete with forged signatures that looked like mine. She'd researched guardianship laws, competency evaluation procedures, legal loopholes. Kyle had written out a step-by-step guide for accessing my bank accounts. He'd already tried twice, blocked by 2-factor authentication I'd set up years ago for work. David's messages were weak, uncertain. "Are we sure about this? He's still my dad." But he never pushed back, never said no, just let the others plan and agreed to everything. Jessica was the driving force. "We're doing this for us, for our future. Frank had his time. Now it's ours. He should be grateful we're putting him somewhere nice, instead of just kicking him to the curb." One message from Emily, sent 2 weeks ago. "I've already contacted Sunrise Assisted Living, prepaid 3 months under Dad's name, forged his signature on the intake forms. They're expecting him after the wedding. We'll present it as a done deal. He'll have no choice but to accept." Another from Kyle. "Found his spare apartment key in David's condo, made 3 copies, 1 for each of us." I read it all, every betrayal, every lie, every calculated step of their plan to steal my home, my independence, my life. Ray handed me a USB drive. I copied everything, every message, every photo they shared in the chat, every document attachment. It's all here. "Is this legal?" Gray area. The phone was in my possession legally for repairs. I stumbled on this accidentally while testing functionality. "What you do with the information is up to you, but Frank, they committed multiple crimes here. Fraud, identity theft, forgery, conspiracy. Elder abuse statutes might apply too." I pocketed the USB drive. My hands were shaking. "Don't tell Jessica the phone is ready yet. I need time." "How much time?" "Until after the wedding." Ray nodded. "Frank, I'm sorry. Your kids, I don't understand how they could do this." "Neither do I." I left the shop, sat in my truck in the parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. My son, my daughter. The children I'd raised alone after Sarah died, the kids I'd sacrificed everything for. They were trying to destroy me, not out of necessity, not because they needed help, but because they wanted more. Wanted my apartment. Wanted my equity. Wanted to erase me from their lives like I was an inconvenient problem to solve. I drove home, unlocked my apartment door, walked through rooms filled with memories. The living room where David had played with toy trucks. The kitchen where Emily had baked cookies with Sarah. The bedroom where my wife had died holding my hand, making me promise to take care of our babies. I'd kept that promise, worked myself to exhaustion, missed vacations and hobbies and relationships because my kids came first, always first, and this was how they repaid me. I sat at my kitchen table, opened my laptop, started researching tenancy laws, lease agreements, guardianship proceedings, elder abuse statutes. I read for hours, taking notes, building understanding. By midnight, I knew 3 things. First, their plan was legally shaky. The forged documents wouldn't hold up under scrutiny. The competency evaluation would show I was fine. The power of attorney required witnesses and notarization they couldn't fake. Second, they'd still cause me enormous trouble. Legal fees, court appearances, the stress of fighting my own children. Even if I won, I'd lose. Third, I needed to be smarter than them, faster, more ruthless. They wanted war, fine, but they'd forgotten who taught them how to fight. The morning after I discovered their plan, I woke at 5 a.m. with clarity I hadn't felt in years. I made coffee, strong and black, sat at my kitchen table with a notepad and pen, started writing. First priority, protect myself legally. I called my doctor's office at 8 when they opened, scheduled a full physical and cognitive evaluation. Dr. Patel, I'd been seeing him for 15 years. Good man, thorough. "Frank, you're healthy as a horse," he'd said during my last checkup. "Keep doing what you're doing." I went in that afternoon, told him I needed documentation. "My kids think I'm declining. I need proof I'm not." Dr. Patel raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. He ran every test: memory, cognitive function, physical capabilities, even had me see a neurologist for additional evaluation. Results came back 48 hours later. Perfect health for my age. No signs of dementia, decline, or incompetence. Dr. Patel wrote a detailed letter, had it notarized, gave me 3 copies. "If your children are suggesting you're unfit, they're either mistaken or lying," he said bluntly. "You're sharper than most 30-year-olds I see." I thanked him, added the letter to my growing file of evidence. Second priority, secure my home. I went to the hardware store, bought new locks, changed them myself. My apartment had 2 entrances, front door and back fire escape. Both got upgraded security. I installed cameras, small ones, hidden. One in the living room bookshelf, disguised as a book spine. One in the kitchen, tucked behind a picture frame. One covering the front door from inside the hallway coat closet. Wireless. Motion activated. Streamed to my phone and cloud storage. Cost me $600 total, worth every penny. I also bought a safe. Small fireproof model, bolted it to the floor of my bedroom closet, put my important documents inside. Birth certificate, social security card, bank statements, the USB drive from Ray, copies of everything. Third priority, finances. I opened new bank accounts at a different bank, transferred most of my savings, left minimal amounts in my old accounts, changed every password, enabled 2-factor authentication on everything, tied to my phone number only. I contacted my credit card companies, put fraud alerts on my accounts. If anyone tried to open credit in my name, I'd get notified immediately. Fourth priority, understand the enemy. I started watching my children, not stalking, just observing. I knew their routines. David left for work at 7:30 every morning, Came home around 6. Emily had court on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Worked from home Mondays and Wednesdays. Kyle's schedule was flexible. He worked from their home office most days. Jessica posted her entire life on Instagram. I created a fake account, followed her. She documented everything. Her morning coffee locations, her afternoon yoga classes, her evening dinner spots. Made surveillance easy. I also started going to the gym. Hadn't worked out seriously in years, but my body remembered. I wasn't trying to get huge, just functional, strong enough to defend myself if it came to that. 56 isn't old. Not really. I'd spent 30 years doing physical labor. My muscles were still there under the slight spare tire I'd developed. 3 weeks of consistent training, and I felt 20 years younger. I practiced other skills too. Lockpicking. I'd learned it in the guard, maintained the knowledge for my building supervisor job. Spent an hour each evening with a practice lock set, keeping my fingers nimble. I studied their social media obsessively. Learned their friends, their hangouts, their weaknesses. Jessica's influencer career depended on brand deals. Emily's law career required an unblemished reputation. Kyle's tech consulting needed client trust. David's marketing job was all about image and networking. They'd built lives on perception, on appearances, on what people thought of them. That was their weakness. 5th priority, allies. I called Tom again, told him everything, the messages, the plans, the betrayal. Jesus, Frank, he said. Your own kids? Yeah. What do you need? Your presence, your reputation. They care about what people think. If you're on my side, visibly, publicly, it undermines their narrative that I'm some declining old man who needs to be put away. Done. Anything else? Just be ready. I'll call when I need you. I also reached out to other people, neighbors who'd known me for decades, co-workers who respected my skills, Sarah's old friends who'd helped me after she died. Built a network, not for anything specific yet, just so they knew, just so they'd answer if I called. The wedding came and went, the slap, Tom's intervention, the fallout. But that was just the opening move. The real game started 3 days later. I began with Jessica. She was the weak link, the loudest, the most vulnerable. Her influencer career depended on sponsorships. I'd done my research. Her main sponsor was a local cosmetics company called Glow. Small business, family-owned, built their reputation on authenticity and real women. They'd signed Jessica to a $50,000 annual contract. I'd seen the paperwork when she'd carelessly left her laptop open at a Sunday dinner. Too busy taking selfies to notice me walking past. Glow's CEO was a woman named Patricia Hayes. 50-something, self-made, built her company from nothing. Valued honesty. I called her office Tuesday morning. Got through to her assistant. This is Frank Miller. I'm Jessica Anderson's father-in-law. I need 5 minutes of Ms. Hayes' time regarding Jessica's partnership with Glow. The assistant put me on hold. 3 minutes later, Patricia picked up. Mr. Miller, how can I help you? Ms. Hayes, I'll be brief. Jessica has been posting photos on Instagram claiming to live in a luxury apartment in the gentrified Oak Street area. She's used these photos to promote your products, positioning herself as a successful young professional with high-end taste. Yes, I've seen those posts. They perform well for us. The apartment in those photos is mine. I live there. I've lived there for 31 years. Jessica has never lived there. She's using my home without permission to misrepresent her lifestyle to your company and your customers. Silence. I have documentation, I continued, lease agreements, utility bills in my name, time-stamped security footage showing she breaks into my apartment when I'm at work to take photos. I'm not trying to cause problems, Ms. Hayes, but I thought you should know. Your brand is built on authenticity. Jessica is lying about who she is. Can you send me that documentation? I can have it in your inbox in 10 minutes. Please do. I hung up, emailed her everything. Photos from my security cameras showing Jessica using her copied key to enter my apartment. Screenshots of her Instagram posts taken in my living room. Lease agreements proving ownership. Utility bills. 24 hours later, Glow's Instagram posted an announcement. We're re-evaluating our brand partnerships to ensure authentic alignment with our values. Jessica's posts, sponsored by Glow, disappeared. Her contract was terminated. I watched her spiral on social media. Vague posts about betrayal and unexpected changes. Her follower count started dropping. Other sponsors got nervous. One down. Next was David. His marketing firm was mid-sized, competitive. He'd been angling for a promotion for 2 years. Finally got his shot. Big client pitch scheduled for Friday afternoon. Tech startup looking to rebrand. Worth $500,000 in billings. David worked in the Thornton building downtown. I supervised maintenance for that building and 3 others nearby. Had access to everything. Security codes. Utility controls. Master keys. I knew the building better than the people who worked there. Friday morning, David's big day. I arrived at the Thornton building at 6 a.m., using my supervisor credentials. Went to the 9th floor. David's firm occupied the northeast corner, big conference room with glass walls facing the city. I found the electrical panel for that specific section. Independent circuit for the conference room, installed 3 years ago when they'd upgraded. Made it easy. I waited. David's pitch was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:55, I pulled the circuit breaker. Just that room. Made it look like a blown circuit, nothing suspicious. David's laptop died mid-presentation setup. The projector went dark. The lights cut out. The Wi-Fi router in that room lost power. I watched from the maintenance closet via security cameras, eating a sandwich. David scrambled, tried using his phone, but the presentation files were on his laptop. Tried the cloud, but the Wi-Fi was down, and the building's cellular signal on the 9th floor was notoriously weak, blocked by steel reinforcement. The clients waited 10 minutes, 15, 20, then left. David's boss, a woman named Sarah Chen, I'd met at the company Christmas party 2 years ago, was livid. I saw it through the cameras, watched her tear into David in her office, watched him try to explain, watched her shake her head. By Monday, David was demoted. Back to junior account manager, pay cut, public humiliation, 2 down. Kyle was trickier, tech consultant, worked remotely. His clients were scattered across 3 states, mostly government contracts and corporate security assessments. But Kyle had one vulnerability. He was sloppy with digital security for someone who sold security services. I'd seen his passwords written on sticky notes at Emily's house during family dinners. Seen him leave his laptop unlocked. Seen him discuss client projects in public places, loud enough for anyone to hear. I'd also seen, thanks to Ray's spyware still active on Jessica's phone, Kyle discussing his plan to hack my accounts. Technically illegal, definitely unethical, definitely something his clients would care about. I compiled evidence, screenshots of Kyle's messages discussing unauthorized access to financial accounts, his detailed plans for digital manipulation, his casual admission of illegal activities. I drafted emails, professional, concerned, anonymous, sent them to Kyle's 3 biggest clients. Subject line: security concerns regarding Kyle Peters, your current consultant. Body text: as someone who works in digital security, I felt obligated to bring the attached information to your attention. Kyle Peters has been documented discussing plans to illegally access personal financial accounts belonging to his father-in-law. While this is a family matter, it raises serious questions about his ethics and judgment when handling sensitive client data. I've attached documented evidence for your review. Attach the screenshots, sent from a burner email account via VPN. 3 days later, 2 of Kyle's clients terminated their contracts. The third suspended him pending investigation. 3 down. Emily was the architect, the smart one, the dangerous one. She'd drafted the legal strategy, coordinated the others, planned every detail. I saved her for last. David called Wednesday evening. I was at home making dinner. Chicken and rice. Simple. Dad, his voice was strained. We need to talk. About what? Everything, this situation. It's gotten out of control. You started it. I know, just meet me. Please. 5th Street parking garage, level 3, 8 tonight, just you and me. We can talk this out like adults. I knew it was a trap. Didn't matter. Sometimes you walk into traps to show you're not afraid. I'll be there. I hung up, finished my dinner, changed into work clothes, jeans and a flannel shirt, steel-toed boots, grabbed my toolbox from the truck, not as a weapon, just because I always had my tools. Drove to 5th Street, parked on level 2, away from cameras, took the stairs to level 3. The garage was mostly empty at 8 p.m. Concrete pillars, fluorescent lights humming overhead, the smell of oil and exhaust. My footsteps echoed. David wasn't alone. He stood near a pillar, looking nervous. Kyle stood beside him, trying to look tough. Gym muscles and a tight shirt. The kind of guy who'd never been in a real fight, but thought he knew how they worked. No Jessica, no Emily, just the 2 men. Dad, David said, voice shaking slightly. This has to stop. What has to stop? You sabotaging our lives. You cost Jessica her sponsorships. You got me demoted. You destroyed Kyle's client base. I told the truth, I said calmly. That's all. Jessica was lying. Your presentation failed because of bad infrastructure. Kyle's clients learned about his ethics problem. You did this on purpose, Kyle said, stepping forward, trying to be intimidating. You're destroying us because you're bitter and old and jealous that we're successful. I set my toolbox down, slowly, carefully. Kyle, I've been polite to you for 3 years because you're married to my daughter, but let's be clear. You're a mediocre tech consultant who got lucky with a few government contracts. You're not special. You're not smart. You're just connected. There it is, I said. Wondered when you'd drop the pretense. David grabbed Kyle's arm. Let's just talk. No fighting. Your father needs to learn respect, Kyle said. I know respect, I said. I respect people who earn it. You tried to steal my home. You don't get respect. Kyle shoved David aside, took a swing at me. Slow. Obvious. Telegraphed from 3 feet away. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, used his momentum against him, turned his arm. Not hard enough to break anything. Hard enough to send him stumbling into a concrete pillar. He hit it with his shoulder, grunted in pain, spun around, angrier now. Kyle, stop, David said, weak, pathetic. Kyle charged. I was ready, grabbed my toolbox, opened it, pulled out a wrench, 12-inch adjustable. Heavy. You really want to do this? I asked. He hesitated. I spent 30 years working with my hands, I continued. Lifting engines, crawling through tight spaces, fighting fires during guard deployments. I'm 56 years old and I can still break you without breathing hard. You're bluffing. I wasn't, but I didn't need to prove it. David finally found his spine. Kyle, enough. Let's just go. No, he needs to... Sirens. Distant but getting closer. Kyle's eyes went wide. Did you call the cops? No, but someone probably saw 2 young guys corner an old man in a parking garage and got concerned. I picked up my toolbox, started walking toward the stairs. You come at me again, I said over my shoulder. It won't end this well. I left them there, took the stairs down, got in my truck, drove away before the police arrived. Checked my phone later. David had texted, "This isn't over." I replied, "It will be, when you surrender." The next morning, Jessica filed for divorce, posted it on Instagram. Sometimes you have to choose yourself over everyone else. New beginnings. David spiraled, started drinking, missed work. His boss put him on probation. The cracks were showing, but Emily remained solid, calculated, dangerous. Time to deal with her. Emily and Kyle ran a charity called Tech for Seniors. On paper, it was noble, teaching elderly people how to use smartphones, computers, email, social media, bridging the digital divide, helping grandparents connect with grandkids. In reality, it was a tax dodge and publicity stunt. I'd suspected as much for years. The charity did one event per year, maybe two. Small turnouts, minimal actual teaching, but they promoted it heavily. Emily featured it in her law firm's marketing materials. Kyle mentioned it in client pitches. They both posted photos on social media, smiling with elderly participants, looking charitable and kind. They'd incorporated the non-profit properly, filed paperwork with the state, even had a website with donation buttons. Over 2 years, they'd collected $82,000 in donations. I spent a week digging into public records, non-profit tax filings, bank statements Kyle had carelessly synced to cloud storage with weak passwords, expense reports Emily had stored in Google Drive with insufficient security. The numbers didn't add up. Tech for Seniors claimed 90% of donations went directly to programming. But they'd only hosted 5 events total. 30 participants each, being generous. Materials cost maybe $500 per event. $12,500 total programming costs. Where was the other $79,500? Mortgage payments, car loans, student loan payoffs, personal expenses disguised as administrative costs, not technically illegal if structured correctly, but deeply unethical. Fraudulent, really, given their claims about fund allocation. I compiled everything into a clean document, no accusations, just numbers, side-by-side comparisons of what they claimed versus what they spent. Donor names, bank transaction histories, expense reports, professional, factual, damning. Then I sent it to everyone who'd donated, 37 people. Some were friends, some were strangers who'd found the charity online. All believed they were helping seniors learn technology. I also sent it to the local newspaper, the Tribune, small daily paper but reputable. They had an investigative reporter named Michelle Carver who loved exposing charity fraud. She called me 2 hours after I sent the documents. "Mr. Miller, this is Michelle Carver from the Tribune. You sent me information about Tech for Seniors?" "I did." "Can I verify you're Emily Peters' father?" "I am." "This is quite an accusation." "It's not an accusation. It's documentation, public records, bank statements, tax filings. Everything is verifiable." "Why are you doing this?" "Because it's wrong. People donated in good faith. They deserve to know the truth. Even though it'll destroy your daughter's reputation." "My daughter chose to be a fraud. I'm just bringing it to light." She was silent for a moment. "I'll need to verify everything independently. Take your time, it's all true." The article ran Thursday morning. Front page. Local charity under investigation for misuse of funds. The story detailed everything: donation amounts, expense reports, the gap between claims and reality, interviewed 3 donors who felt betrayed, included responses from Emily and Kyle, who'd declined to comment. By noon, Emily's law firm had called an emergency meeting. By 3 p.m., they'd issued a statement. Emily Peters is taking a leave of absence to address personal matters. By Friday, she was fired. Kyle's last remaining client, a mid-sized corporation with security contracts, dropped him immediately. "We can't be associated with someone under investigation for financial impropriety." Tech for Seniors shut down over the weekend. Website taken offline, social media deleted, no refunds issued, no apologies made. Emily called me Saturday afternoon, first time we'd spoken since the wedding. "You destroyed us." Her voice was cold, controlled, Lawyer voice. I revealed the truth. We needed that money. Do you understand the pressure we're under? Student loans, mortgage, car payments. Life is expensive. So you stole from people who trusted you. It wasn't stealing. It was fraud. Dressed up in legal language, but fraud nonetheless. You're supposed to be our father. Fathers protect their children. Fathers also teach their children right from wrong. You forgot that lesson. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Unless you want me to release the rest. What rest? The group chat, Operation Upgrade, every message, every plan, every betrayal. I send it to everyone you know, every client, colleague, friend, neighbor. I make sure the world knows exactly who you are. Silence stretched. I could hear her breathing, sharp, angry. You wouldn't? Try me. She hung up. That night, I checked the spyware on Jessica's phone. The group chat was exploding. Emily. He's systematic, methodical. This isn't random revenge. He's executing a plan. Kyle. We need to hit him where it hurts. David. Where? He doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about reputation. What does he care about? Long pause in the messages. Then Emily typed, his legacy, his name, the respect he's earned over 30 years. That's what he values. Jessica. So we destroy that? Emily. Exactly. We paint him as an abusive father, a manipulative old man who's bitter about his children's success. We make people question everything they think they know about Frank Miller. Kyle. How? Emily. Elder abuse accusation. We claim he threatened us, manipulated us, gaslit us our whole lives. Jessica testifies he threatened her at the wedding. Kyle says he was assaulted in the parking garage. David claims decades of psychological abuse. David. Will that work? Emily. It doesn't have to work legally. It just has to plant doubt. Once people start questioning his character, his reputation crumbles. And without that, he has nothing. I read it twice. My own daughter, my own children, planning to destroy not just my life, but my name, the only thing I truly valued. They'd crossed a line, time to cross one back. Emily and Kyle planned a comeback event, Tech for Seniors relaunch, new donors, new publicity, fresh start. They booked the Grand Hotel, same ballroom where David's wedding had been. Invitations sent to 200 people, local politicians, business leaders, community influencers, anyone who mattered. The event was scheduled for Saturday evening. Formal dress, speeches, donation drives, image rehabilitation. I wasn't invited. I showed up anyway. Arrived at 7 p.m. in my best suit, same one I'd worn to David's wedding. I'd had it cleaned, shoes polished, looked respectable. Elderly man attending a charity event. Nothing suspicious. Security at the door checked the guest list. Name. Frank Miller. I'm Emily Peters' father. They looked at each other. One spoke into his radio, waited for response. Sir, you're not on the list. I'm family. I'm sure it's an oversight. I'm sorry, I can't let you in without... I pulled out my building supervisor ID. Different building, but they didn't know that. I'm also here for a maintenance check. We had electrical issues reported in this ballroom last week. Fire code requires inspection. They hesitated. The ID looked official. Fire code was serious. Okay, go ahead. I walked in. The ballroom was packed. 200 people in formal wear, holding wine glasses, making small talk. Stage at the front, large screen displaying the Tech for Seniors logo. Tables set up for donations. Emily stood at the podium, mid-speech. Second chances are what communities are built on. We made mistakes. We acknowledge that. But we're committed to doing better. This relaunch represents our dedication to truly helping seniors bridge the digital divide. Her voice was smooth, practiced, convincing. She'd always been good at public speaking. I walked down the center aisle. People noticed, turned, whispered. Emily's voice faltered. Dad? David standing near the front table with Kyle. I kept walking, reached the stage, looked up at Emily. Mind if I say a few words? This is a private event. Tom Reeves stepped out from the crowd. I'd texted him an hour ago, asked him to attend, told him why. Let him speak, Emily, Tom said loudly. These people deserve to hear all sides. The room went silent. Tom's reputation still carried weight. Emily stepped back from the microphone, face pale. I climbed the steps, stood at the podium, looked out at 200 expectant faces. My name is Frank Miller. Emily and Kyle Peters are my daughter and son-in-law. I'm not here to trash them. I paused, let that settle. I'm here to tell you the truth about Tech for Seniors, because as someone who's worked with seniors for 30 years, I care deeply about this cause. I pulled out printed documents, clean copies, professional binding, handed them to people in the front row. These are financial records, public documents, tax filings, bank statements. They show that Tech for Seniors collected $82,000 over 2 years. They show that only $3,000 went to actual programming. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The other $79,000, personal expenses, mortgages, cars, student loans, all disguised as administrative costs. Not illegal if structured correctly, but deeply dishonest given their public claims about fund allocation. I looked at Emily. She stared back, jaw clenched. These documents also show that this relaunch is using the same structure, same bank accounts, same expense categories. You're being asked to donate to the same organization that misused funds before, with no structural changes to prevent it from happening again. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Why should we believe you?" Tom spoke up, "Because I've verified everything Frank is saying. I've reviewed the documents, checked the sources, interviewed the original donors. Everything he's telling you is true." Another voice, "But he's her father. He has a vendetta." "I do," I admitted, "because my children tried to steal my home. They forged documents to have me declared mentally incompetent. They conspired to illegally access my bank accounts. And when I defended myself by exposing their fraud, they decided to destroy my reputation through false accusations of elder abuse." The room erupted, people shouting questions. Emily tried to grab the microphone. "That's not true, he's lying." I pulled out my phone, connected it to the ballroom's projection system. Tech for Seniors had set up a laptop, made it easy. "Here's the group chat," I said. The messages appeared on the large screen. "Operation Upgrade. My children's plan to steal my apartment and have me declared incompetent." People in the crowd pulled out their phones, taking pictures of the screen. The messages scrolled. David's weak agreements, Emily's legal strategies, Kyle's hacking plans, Jessica's greedy calculations. "Here's the forged lease," I continued, switching slides. "Emily drafted it. My signature here is fake. Compare it to my actual signature here. Clear forgery. Obvious to anyone looking. Here's the charity's actual expense reports versus their public claims. Here's donor testimony. Here's bank transaction records showing personal purchases charged to the non-profit. Evidence after evidence. Undeniable. Documented. Verified." Emily screamed, "You're destroying us." "No," I said calmly. "You destroyed yourselves. I'm just making sure everyone knows." Kyle lunged at me. Security grabbed him. 2 guards in blue blazers wrestled him toward the exit. Emily followed, shrieking, "This is slander. I'll sue you." "Truth is a defense," I called after her. "Check with your bar association." David remained, standing alone near the front table. People moved away from him. He looked at me across the empty space. "Why?" he asked, voice broken. "Because actions have consequences. Because you can't betray someone and expect no response. Because I'm your father, and fathers teach lessons. You taught us to be ruthless. No, I taught you to be strong. You chose ruthless on your own." I disconnected my phone, walked off the stage. The crowd parted, 200 people staring. Some sympathetic, some shocked, all aware they'd witnessed something they'd remember forever. Tom met me at the exit. That was brutal. It needed to be. What happens now? Now they have nothing left. No jobs, no reputations, no charity, just the consequences of their choices. We walked out into the cool night. Behind us, the event collapsed, people leaving, donations cancelled. In my truck, I sat for a moment, watched them through the windshield, Emily and Kyle arguing with security, David standing alone inside, staring at nothing. My children, the babies I'd raised, the teenagers I'd guided, the adults who'd betrayed me. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no regret, just emptiness. I drove home. 3 days passed in eerie silence, no calls, no texts, no social media posts. My children had gone dark. Tuesday afternoon, Emily called. Dad. Her voice was different, tired, defeated. We need to talk. We've talked enough. Not like this, just you and me, father and daughter, no lawyers, no witnesses, just us. Why would I agree to that? Because despite everything, I'm still your daughter, and you're still my father. Please. Something in her voice made me pause. Genuine pain, real exhaustion. Where? The coffee shop on Main Street, tomorrow, noon, public place, safe. I'll think about it. Please, Dad. She hung up. I thought about it. Could be a trap. Could be genuine. Either way, I'd know more after. I showed up Wednesday at 11:45. Early. Sat by the window with clear sightlines to the door. Ordered black coffee. Waited. Emily arrived at 12:10. She looked terrible. Hair unwashed. Dark circles under eyes. Wrinkled clothes. The polished lawyer facade completely gone. She sat across from me. Didn't order anything. Just sat. I'm sorry, she said. I waited. For all of it. The apartment, the charity, everything. It spiraled out of control. We got greedy and stupid and we hurt you. I hurt you, and I'm sorry. Why? Why what? Why did you do it? You're a lawyer, smart, educated. You had a good life. Why risk it all to steal from me? She looked at her hands. Because we wanted more, better, success that felt real, not just comfortable, and you represented our limits. Limits? David works in marketing. I'm a lawyer from a state school. Kyle does tech consulting. We're middle class, pretending to be upper middle class. And every time we saw you, in that apartment, living the same life you've lived for 30 years, we felt trapped. Like if we stayed connected to you, we'd never escape working class roots. So you tried to erase me. We tried to move forward, but you were always there, reminding us where we came from, who we really were, and we resented you for it. That's not an apology. That's an explanation. I know. She met my eyes. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve it. I'm just trying to help you understand. What do you want, Emily? To warn you. I felt my spine stiffen. About what? Kyle and David are planning something. One last attack. I told them to stop, begged them, but they won't listen. They're destroyed, Dad. No jobs, no money, no futures. And they blame you for all of it. What are they planning? Elder abuse accusation, coordinated testimony. Jessica will say you threatened her at the wedding. Kyle will claim you assaulted him in the parking garage. David will testify to decades of psychological manipulation. They'll file a restraining order, force a competency evaluation, drag you through legal hell, even if they know they'll lose. You're telling me this why? Because you're still my father, and because what they're planning goes too far. You've won. You destroyed us. We have nothing, but they want to drag you down with us. When? Friday. They're filing everything Friday morning. She stood up. I'm done, Dad. I'm out. I'm moving to Chicago, starting over, leaving all of this behind. But I wanted you to know what's coming. This could be a lie, another manipulation. It could be, but it's not. She pulled out her phone, showed me the group chat. Recent messages planning exactly what she'd described. How do I know you're not still playing me? You don't. That's the thing about trust. Once it's broken, you can't prove it's been restored. You just have to decide. She left. I sat there, coffee cold, processing. My daughter, confessing, warning me, positioning herself as the reformed one, while her brother and ex-brother-in-law prepared one final assault. I checked Ray's spyware, Jessica's phone. The group chat had new messages from an hour ago. Kyle. Emily's meeting him now. Think she'll sell us out? David. Doesn't matter. If he thinks Emily's on his side, he'll focus on forgiving her and ignore us. Jessica. Brilliant. She takes the moral high ground. You two look like the bad guys. He wastes time trying to salvage a relationship with her while you file everything Friday. Emily. It'll work. He wants to believe I'm redeemable. That underneath everything, I'm still his daughter. He'll fall for it. I read it twice. She'd played me. Again. The confession was theatre. The warning was bait. Make me think Emily was getting out, that only Kyle and David were threats, then blindside me with coordinated legal attacks from all three. But they'd made a mistake. They'd told me the timeline. Friday, 2 days away. Time to end this. Thursday morning. I had one day. I'd spent weeks gathering evidence. Now I needed to deliver it. Not to authorities yet, to the people who mattered. The people whose opinions would matter if my children tried to destroy my reputation. I created packets, USB drives with all the evidence, documents, messages, photos, videos, everything. Made 20 copies, 8 a.m. First stop, Jessica's parents. They lived in Riverside, 90 minutes north. Nice people, retired teachers. They'd always been kind to me, uncomfortable with how their daughter treated me, but conflict-averse enough to stay silent. I knocked on their door. Jessica's mother, Helen, answered. Frank, what are you doing here? I need you to see something. I handed her a USB drive. Everything your daughter did. The fake charity, the conspiracy, the fraud, the abuse accusations they're about to file against me. Helen took it with shaking hands. Frank, I don't. You don't have to look now, but you should know. Before she comes to you for money or sympathy or bail money, you should know who she really is. Her husband Robert appeared behind her. What's going on? Your daughter tried to steal my home. When that failed, she's filing false abuse accusations to destroy my reputation. It's all documented. Robert's face hardened. Get out. Look at the evidence first, then decide if I'm the bad guy. I left. Drove to stop 2, David's former boss, Sarah Chen. I'd gotten her home address from building records, technically a violation of privacy, but I was past caring about technicalities. She answered her door in yoga pants, coffee in hand. Frank, how did you... Sarah, David's been telling people he was unfairly demoted, that you had a personal vendetta. I wanted you to know the truth. I handed her a USB drive. His plan to sabotage my life, his contempt for honest work, his entitlement, everything. She took it. Why are you showing me this? Because he's going to try to get his job back, and you should know who you'd be rehiring. Jesus, she looked at the drive. I should have fired him outright. You still can. Stop 3, Kyle's last client, a government contractor named James Brennan. I'd tracked him down through LinkedIn, showed up at his office downtown. His assistant tried to stop me. Mr. Brennan doesn't take walk-ins. Tell him it's about Kyle Peters and a security breach. 2 minutes later, I was in Brennan's office. He was mid-40s, military haircut, no-nonsense expression. You have 60 seconds, he said. I showed him the messages. Kyle's plan to hack my accounts. His casual discussion of illegal access. His complete disregard for ethics. If he'd do this to family, I said, what would he do with classified data? Brennan's face went pale. We just gave him access to level 3 security protocols. Might want to change those. Get out, I need to make some calls. I left. Brennan was on his phone before I reached the elevator. I spent Thursday hitting 12 more stops, donors to the charity, Emily's former colleagues, neighbors who'd known my family for decades, David's friends, Jessica's other sponsors. Everyone got a USB drive. Everyone got the full story. By 6 p.m., I delivered evidence to 18 people. 2 more stops left. My lawyer friend, Marcus Webb. He had the 19th drive, insurance policy, and the Tribune. Michelle Carver. She got the 20th. She'd already written one story. Now she'd have enough for a follow-up exposing the abuse accusations as false before they were even filed. I was driving home from the Tribune office when Kyle figured it out. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. "You're delivering evidence." Kyle's voice, angry, desperate. "I know what you're doing." "Little late to stop me." "I can try." He hung up. I was on Highway 9, heading back into the city. Empty road, 7 p.m., dark. A car appeared in my rearview mirror. Grey Honda Civic, Kyle's car. He accelerated, closing fast. He pulled alongside. Tried to force me off the road, swerved into my lane. I hit the brakes, dropped back. My truck was older, heavier. His car was lighter, faster. But I'd been driving trucks for 30 years. Cargo haulers during guard deployments, delivery trucks during my mechanic days. I knew how vehicles moved. Kyle tried again, came up behind me, rammed my bumper. The impact jolted my truck. I kept control, accelerated. He matched speed. I took an exit. Route 47, back roads into farm country. Narrow lanes, no streetlights. He followed. I knew these roads, grew up here, every curve, every turn, every dangerous stretch. Kyle didn't. I accelerated to 60, 70. He stayed close, desperate, stupid. Ahead, a sharp turn. Gravel shoulder, trees on both sides. I braked hard going into the turn. Kyle didn't. He tried, but too late. His car skidded. He overcorrected, went wide, clipped a tree on the shoulder, spun out. I watched in my rearview mirror. His car came to rest facing the wrong direction, hood crumpled against an oak tree, airbag deployed. I kept driving, got home 40 minutes later, police car in my parking lot. Officer Martinez. I knew him. Good cop, fair. "Frank, we got a call. Kyle Peters says you ran him off the road." He chased me from the Tribune office parking lot, tried to force me off Highway 9, self-defense, checked the traffic cameras. Mile marker 42, southbound. That's where it started. Martinez wrote notes. He's saying you started it. I have a dash cam. I didn't. And witnesses at the Tribune who saw him follow me out. We'll check it out. Stay available. Always do. He left. I went inside. Checked my email. 18 confirmations. Everyone I'd visited had received their USB drives, had opened them, had watched the evidence. The truth was spreading. By morning, everyone would know. My phone buzzed. The group chat. Emily's message to the others. "It's over. He outplayed us again." Kyle. "We still file Friday. The abuse accusation will stick even if the evidence is shaky." David. "No, everyone already knows the truth. Filing now makes us look worse." Jessica. "I'm done. I'm out. I should have divorced into a different family." Emily. "We underestimated him from the beginning. He's been 10 steps ahead this entire time." I typed a message directly into their chat. They still didn't know I could see it. "You should have known. I'm a mechanic. I know how things work, how they break, how to take them apart piece by piece until there's nothing left. You forgot who taught you to think. That was your mistake." Sent. 5 seconds of silence. Then chaos. "He's in the chat." "Dad? How long has he been watching?" "Since the beginning." I turned off my phone, poured a drink, bourbon, neat. Tomorrow they'd know there was nothing left to fight for. Tomorrow they'd surrender. Tomorrow this would end. I sat in my living room, my apartment, my home, exactly where I'd always been. They'd tried to take everything. Instead, they'd lost everything, and I'd never left my chair. Friday morning, the day they'd planned to file elder abuse accusations, restraining orders, competency challenges. Instead, my phone rang at 9 a.m. Emily, we want to meet. Why? To surrender. We're done. All of us. We're returning everything. Keys, documents, plans, everything. Where? Your apartment. Noon. We'll come to you. All three of you. David, Kyle, and me. Jessica's already gone. Moved back with her parents. Filed divorce papers. She's out. Why should I believe this isn't another trap? Because we have nothing left to trap you with. You won, Dad. Completely. Totally. We're just asking for a chance to end this with some dignity. I thought about it. Could be genuine. Could be one last manipulation. Noon, my apartment. Door will be unlocked, but Tom Reeves will be in the hallway. Any tricks and you'll deal with him. No tricks, I promise. She hung up. I called Tom. Need you at my building. Noon. Things might get emotional. I'll be there. I spent the morning cleaning, not sure why. Nervous energy, maybe. Making coffee, straightening furniture, looking at my home like I was seeing it for the first time. This was what they'd wanted to steal. These rooms, these walls, this life. 11:55. Knock on the door. It's open, I called. They came in together. David, Emily, Kyle. They looked destroyed. David's suit was wrinkled, hair unwashed. Emily's professional mask completely gone, face bare of makeup, eyes red. Kyle had a bandage on his forehead from the car accident, limping slightly. Emily held an envelope. The keys, every copy we made, all of them. She set it on my kitchen table. We're dropping everything, she continued. No accusations, no lawsuits, no competency challenges. We're walking away. Why? Because we have nothing left to fight with. No jobs, no reputations, no money, no allies. You systematically destroyed every aspect of our lives, and you did it legally, truthfully, without breaking a single law. We can't beat that. David stepped forward. His voice was hollow. Dad, I'm sorry. For all of it. I was weak. I let Jessica and Emily lead me into this nightmare. I should have protected you. But you didn't. I know. Kyle said nothing. Just stared at the floor, angry and defeated. I walked to the window, looked out at Oak Street, my neighborhood, 31 years of memories. You thought you could take my home, I said quietly. My name, my dignity. You thought because I'm 56 and work with my hands instead of sitting in an office, you could push me aside, that I'd roll over because I'm your father and fathers are supposed to accept whatever their children do. We were wrong, Emily said. You were more than wrong. You were cruel. You forgot who I am, what I've survived, what I'm capable of. You saw an old man. I'm a mechanic. I know how things work, how they break, how to dismantle them piece by piece until there's nothing left. I turned to face them. I built this life, after your mother died, after the guard, after 30 years of fixing other people's broken things. This apartment, this name, this reputation, it's mine. I earned it. We understand, Emily said. Do you? Do you really understand what you've done? Yes. Then explain it to me. She hesitated. We betrayed you. We chose greed over family, status over love. We tried to erase you from our lives like you were an obstacle instead of our father. And when you fought back, when you defended yourself, we tried to destroy you completely. And we failed, because you're smarter than us, more experienced, more ruthless. You taught us to fight, but we fought you, and we forgot you taught us everything we know. I picked up the envelope, dumped the keys on the table. 7 copies, all labeled. I don't want your apologies. I don't want your explanations. I want you to understand something. They waited. I raised children, 2 beautiful, smart, capable children. I loved them unconditionally, sacrificed everything for them, would have died for them. My voice went cold. You turned yourselves into enemies. Not me. You chose this path. You decided greed was more important than family. And when I defended myself, when I used every skill I'd learned over 56 years to protect what's mine, you acted like I was the villain. Dad. I'm not your dad anymore. Frank is a father. But fathers need children who act like children. You're strangers who happen to share my DNA. David's face crumpled. Emily looked away. Kyle finally met my eyes. We can never fix this, Kyle asked. No. What happens now? I walked to the door, opened it. Tom stood in the hallway, arms crossed. Now you leave. This apartment stays mine. My name stays mine. My reputation stays mine. And you stay away. That's it? Emily asked. That's everything. She grabbed her purse. David and Kyle followed her toward the door. At the threshold, Emily turned back. I loved you. I did. I just loved myself more. I know. That's why we're here. They left. Tom stayed. You okay? He asked. I will be. That was harsh. It needed to be. Tom showed me his phone. News article. Local family feud ends in stunning reversal. The story had everything. Names, evidence, the charity fraud, the attempted eviction, the parking garage, the final confrontation. It painted me as the hero. The working-class father who'd defended himself against ungrateful children, using nothing but truth and persistence. Who leaked it? I asked. Michelle Carver. She put it together from all your evidence deliveries. Good. Tom left. I stood in my apartment alone, 31 years of memories, intact, protected, mine. Outside my window, I saw them on the sidewalk. David, Emily, Kyle, standing together, lost, destroyed, defeated. I closed the curtain, poured a drink, sat in my chair, my home, my life, my name. They'd tried to take it all, tried to erase me, tried to steal my legacy. Instead, I'd taken everything from them. Their jobs, their reputations, their futures, their dignity. Not with violence, not with crime, just with truth, timing, and the ruthless efficiency of a man who'd spent 56 years learning how the world works. They forgot one fundamental fact about mechanics. We don't just fix things. We know exactly how to dismantle them, how to find the weak points, how to apply pressure until everything falls apart. They'd handed me the blueprint of their lives and asked me to look away while they destroyed mine. Instead, I'd studied their blueprint, found every weakness, every vulnerability, every pressure point, and I'd dismantled them with the same precision I used to dismantle engines. Families aren't broken by circumstance. They're broken by choice. They chose greed. I chose survival. And in the end, survival always wins. I raised my glass to the empty room, to Sarah's memory, to the life we'd built, to the home that remained mine. They wanted my legacy, I said to no one. But legacy isn't something you take. It's something you earn, and they'll never understand the difference. I finished my drink, set the glass down, looked around my apartment one last time. Tomorrow, I'd change my number, cut the last threads connecting me to them, start fresh, but tonight I'd sit in my chair in my home and know I'd won. Not because I'd destroyed them, but because I'd protected what was mine. That was the real victory. The apartment, the name, the life I'd built from nothing after Sarah died. Still mine, still standing, still here. They'd come for everything. They'd left with nothing. And I'd never moved an inch.